bulls and shining bears to this, the 13th episode of the Crypto Astrology Podcast. We are going to take a look at what this week holds for Bitcoin and Ether price, but first, please, as always, feel free to check out the Shining Bull website where I have all kinds of offerings for all suns, especially a trading signal service for day traders only, and a weekly forecast for both swing traders and day traders, and for anyone who's an investor or interested in my weekly forecast, where I have like price points and a lot more detail than what I share here. And then of course on the website we also have predictive books and book bundle deals. And if nothing is within your price range, just follow me on Twitter and get notifications here for this podcast, as I give out a lot of free information. So now let's take a look at this week in Bitcoin and Ether price. And although I, the astrologer, live in Newfoundland, I am now giving these predictions as per UTC time. So let's get into it. Firstly, on Sunday, I see that price action starts to be informed by some kind of higher knowledge as Jupiter joins Mars in Libra in the Navamsha. And this new knowledge is likely to provide more upward support to Bitcoin and Ether price. And beginning early in the morning, the Sun entering into a degree-wise relationship with Mars pushes the price upwards more clearly. And then Mercury's entrance into Virgo in the Navamsha, also Sunday, supports this climb, which can become more extreme in the late evening when Moon enters into Aries. However, a price drop is likely to begin at night on Sunday, we're still on Sunday, when the Sun joins Saturn in the Navamsha. Next, on Monday, Venus's retrograde into Cancer brings a downward trend beginning early in the morning. And this drop, as I see it, will continue until late morning, when the market will attempt a recovery when Moon enters into Saturn's third drishti. But optimism will diminish soon afterwards when Mars exits the trine to Jupiter, leading to another decline. And late evening can, however, bring a directional change up in the late evening on Monday due to the movements of Mars and later of the Moon. So next, and I want to mention this right now about Monday. Monday is a very important day where the biggest drop can happen. And so the severity of the drop that happens on Monday is what is going to determine what the rest of the week looks like. And that's because, as you'll see as I continue, the rest of the week has a lot of upward corrective action. So as I mentioned, Sunday, since we have a lot of upward potential, relatively speaking, but then Monday there's a big drop that I see as highly likely. It means that if we drop on Monday but not so severely, then the rest of the week, the upward correction can push us into a new bullish territory. However, if the drop on Monday is extremely severe, then the upward correction for the rest of the week may not take us into a new bullish territory, but rather simply be correcting upwards from the severe drop on Monday. And also, no matter what the upward correction for the rest of the week, I'm going to continue for the rest of the week, but no matter what the upward correction, don't think that that's taking us directly into a bull market, because the following week, next week, I see showing a lot of downward movement at play. And I don't see that we're out of the woods completely until the 23rd of August, which is when Mercury turns retrograde. Okay, so now let me get back into the day-by-day predictions. So next on Tuesday, so going back, Now I'm going to continue about the day-to-day. So on Tuesday, UTC, price movement, I expect it to be mostly upward throughout the morning as the moon transits in a strong relationship to Jupiter, Mercury, and Mars. But by late afternoon, prices will see a decline due to the moon's interaction with Mars and later with Venus. Then, Wednesday UTC, early morning, prices are likely to fall. And there will be a market consolidation when the moon enters into Taurus. But by late afternoon, positive news about policy decisions for and by crypto exchanges, both CeFi and DeFi, will, as I see it, start to drive prices upwards. Next, Thursday, due to Sun's transit, prices should drop. So that's another dangerous day. Leaders may seem at that moment less trustworthy and inspire less confidence. But by the late morning, an upward movement begins as people will start to process policy decisions in a new way. And that upward movement can also be very strong and sustaining. But again, the late evening on Thursday into Friday early morning UTC should show a drop. Then Friday, I see prices heading up most of the day due to a shift in mindset. And then on Saturday, I see it being mixed, although most of the day is likely to be up. But by the evening, a drop should start when Venus joins Sun in Aquarius in the Navamsha. And so, just again, regarding this week as a whole, while bullish sentiments can seem to dominate the week due to Mars's surprising effect on policy decisions and due to how that's being conveyed and understood by people. At the same time, I just want you to know that the 2-12 relationship between Mercury and the Sun will can definitely result in potential miscommunication or misinterpretation in the news media. And so just be aware of those kind of energies that are going to be in play this week, okay? And there can be some surprises actually, because Mars is going to be acting in a way that politicians are. So politicians are represented by the Sun, and the Sun is going to be trying to employ Mars, who are like law enforcement, for example. So politicians are going to be trying to use like the law to determine a new direction for the industry and for how the marketplace is going to be acting in the future. But actually what will happen is there's going to be a surprising way that this actually comes into play, because Mars has his own intentions. And so there can be surprises definitely this week. So that was the weekly forecast for the week ahead for Bitcoin and Ether price. And for intraday traders, my signal service is best only for intraday traders, not for anybody else. And so if you are not an intraday trader, you shouldn't use my trading signals. And I'm talking like you should be a professional trader to be using my trading signals. I explained that on my site. And then I also have the weekly forecast for swing traders and also for day traders and for anybody interested, where I give price points and a lot more detail. And then of course my books for the bigger picture. Okay, so now I want to talk about some news items from the past week. Again, although I, the astrologer, am physically located in Newfoundland, I'm referencing UTC time as opposed to my time zone here in Newfoundland. So, last week, several crucial events occurred that have significant implications for the world of stablecoins and the stability of decentralized finance, DeFi. And the events may have seemed to you as unrelated, but they were actually all caused by the same shared astrological climate in which they unfolded. So, on Sunday, July 30th, DeFi protocol Curve fell victim to a hacker who exploited a faulty reentrancy lock, successfully withdrawing a total of $52 million from Curve's stable pools. And stable pools are DeFi liquidity pools designed for asset pairs with similar price points, such as synthetic ETH to Ether pairs. For example, different platforms' respective synthetic ETH to Ether pairs, such as Alchemix's ETH, which is AL ETH, among others, as well as BNB stable pools from Ellipsis protocol, were exploited. So, on that day, just 6 hours prior to Curve tweeting news about the exploit, Venus had entered into Aries in the Navamsha, where Jupiter and Rahu transit in the sky. And Venus and Rahu are both transiting and trine to each other in Ketu-ruled nakshatras. And headless Ketu is currently transiting in Chitra nakshatra in Libra. And that nakshatra is related to design, and Libra is the sign of the marketplace. And Venus rules Libra, the marketplace, and Venus also rules Taurus, the second sign, the sign of liquid money. And Taurus, being the fixed sign, which is also an earth sign, is often thought of as the most stable sign. So it is clear to me that Venus's retrograde motion in trine to Rahu is what activated the situation which unfolded for Curve, of which the exploit was only the beginning. So what I see is that since Rahu is all head, and he's in a Ketu ruled nakshatra, Ashwini, he seems to be trying to make sense of DeFi. And Ketu in Chitra of design is exposing the gaps in assumptions that have allowed DeFi protocols to flourish thus far, the gaps in their design. And the reason that stable pools are what were targeted in order to bring things to light is because Venus is in the picture, who again represents stability. So something that was supposed to be a stable put everything at risk due to flaws either in the design or in the assumptions as to the working of the DeFi system as a whole. So, and you'll see how this played out. So the next day, that's because the next day following the hack, Monday, July 31st, Curve's native token CRV's price plunged because of the hack, and it plunged dramatically. And that in turn jeopardized Curve's founder, Michael Egorov's massive borrowing position against his CRV tokens, of which he holds an immense quantity. Actually, a large percentage, I believe, of the tokens belong to that one person, the founder. So Egorov had taken out a $100 million, I believe, in loans, and people think he had used the money to purchase a mansion. I'm pretty sure that seems quite certain at this point, in his home country of Australia. And interestingly, mansions also represent a fixed luxury asset, which are also ruled by Venus. So meanwhile, so you see how astrology truly is at play in every single moment, in every single event. So anyway, meanwhile, at the same time, on Monday, on a Twitter Spaces, so on the same day, that same Monday, when the price was dropping and we realized that Egorov's borrowing position was at risk, which obviously if he's liquidated, that can put an extensive amount of trauma on DeFi, since he has taken out his positions in different DeFi protocols. So if he's liquidated, if Curve price plunges too much, he is liquidated, and it's a huge, it's a disaster. It would be a disaster. For a lot of DeFi, it would be like a systemic risk. Hopefully it doesn't happen. But anyway, that same day, Monday, as all of that was playing out, on a Twitter Spaces, and this will seem unrelated, but astrologically it's very related. On a Twitter Spaces, Binance's CEO CZ expressed concerns over the transparency of USDT stablecoin. And I noticed that actually, I believe that stablecoin is issued by the owner of Bitfinex, which is based in Hong Kong. And so I don't know why CZ specifically expressed concerns about USDT. Who knows? Maybe there's some kind of business competitiveness, since that's like, maybe, I don't know, that's not like, that issuer isn't based in the US, and maybe that issuer, the owner of Bitfinex, the issuer of USDT, maybe, because, anyway, so maybe it's some kind of competitive thing, since maybe it's closer to Binance's territory. I don't know why he mentioned USD specifically, but anyway, he referred to USDT as a black box because of the lack of accessible audit reports, and as a result of uncertainties, as he saw it, regarding stablecoins. He revealed Binance's plan to diversify its stablecoin partnerships and work on algorithmic stablecoins in different places, relevant locally in those places. In parallel to that, also on Monday, Tether, the issuer of USDT, who has, like, as I mentioned, a base in Hong Kong, as well as, I believe, the British Virgin Islands, but point being, Tether unveiled an attestation report showcasing a $850 million rise in excess reserves, which now total 3.3 billion, as per the report, in reserves for Tether, backing its USDT, and it's just interesting because it almost seems like these different stablecoin issuers or exchange operators such as CZ are firing off. And as an astrologer, I see that this is related to some stress, some knowledge, or some intuition that they have of something that's coming, which I'm going to explain to you. But even like a few days later, Brian Armstrong, the CEO of Coinbase, made some strange comment about USDC and how Binance had pulled out of USDC, and so USDC benefited from that. But all of these statements, they're kind of like, it almost seems like these guys are kind of firing off about it, but because of some intuition of something that's coming. And I'll explain why I see this. So anyway, note that again, with stablecoins, the same Venus-ruled theme of stability is being questioned, and this time in the form of stable coins. So the next day from that Monday was Tuesday, and Tuesday was the full moon. And that Tuesday's full moon happened with moon in the Taurus pada of Shravana Nakshatra. And again, Taurus is ruled by Venus, and this sign itself is related to the concept of stability. But what I wanted to tell you, and why I mentioned that about these different exchange guys or issuers kind of like firing off here and there, is because that nakshatra where the full moon took place, Shravana, is related to how information is conveyed and understood in acts of speech, often for business purposes. And maybe the reason behind them can be more or less clear or more or less apparent, the real reason behind that commentary that happens. Okay, so on that full moon day, news came out that USDC and other stable coins might encounter challenges if a new national defense bill is enacted into law. And once law, it would be called the 2024 National Defense Authorization Act. And that bill was passed by the US Senate already on Thursday, July 27th. And inside that bill is an amendment that relates to crypto. And Elizabeth Warren is one of the authors of this amendment, which could introduce stringent KYC and anti-money laundering requirements for stablecoin issuers also. And according to analysts, this proposed regulation might complicate compliance for stablecoin issuers, potentially impacting major players like Coinbase, whose net revenue is substantially tied actually to the USD stablecoin in particular. So you can see that, you notice I just mentioned a few days later, Brian Armstrong randomly in an earnings call mentioned USDC and sort of almost like his confidence in it because, or like saying that its market cap had gone up as a result of Binance pulling out of it. But it's just interesting that he made that kind of random statement in an earnings call when 2 days earlier news came out that Coinbase itself could be jeopardized by this bill that I just mentioned if it's enacted into law, because Coinbase has a huge stake in USDC. A lot of its revenue is coming from that. Okay, so anyway, so on July 27th, when that bill was passed by the Senate, on that day, Venus retrograded past Mercury in Leo while both were trining Rahu. And my prediction, I don't think it's not a coincidence. It's that Coinbase could be affected by this, and Coinbase is being targeted by the SEC, as you probably know, this was an amendment that was put into this bill by the likes of Elizabeth Warren, who I'm not sure, but there's been a lot of speculation for a long time about, because she's the same political party as Gary Gensler, who's the chairman of the SEC, and long story short, as an astrologer, I don't think it's a coincidence. So anyway, now my prediction is, this is important, my prediction, astrological prediction, is that when Venus retrogrades past the Sun on Sunday, August 13th at 26 degrees and 17 minutes of Cancer in the Aquarius Pada of Ashlesha Nakshatra, there will be an important development on this very bill, and this will not be good for the industry at all. And it is also clear, because of the place where this transit is happening, that the intentions of those who added that amendment to the bill are sneaky and conspiratorial, as I see it as an astrologer. It looks quite clear to me, very clear. So furthermore, I'm sorry to say that I noticed that when the news hit about the potential repercussions on Coinbase of this bill becoming law, Moon was transiting on Gary Gensler's natal Saturn and Venus, who are very much active, have been very much active when he has targeted the industry. And this, to me as an astrologer, looks like another act of war on our industry, and it can manifest as a shakeup of USD-pegged stablecoins, or perhaps of any stablecoin acquired by US persons. And I have made predictions in the past where I explained that once Jupiter had entered into Aries after transiting in Pisces, stablecoins would come about that were smaller and not pegged to the US dollar. And you can see this prediction in my video in the Crypto Astro News playlist on the Shining Bull YouTube, titled USD Pegged Stablecoin Standard, Soon a Thing of the Past! And this prediction seems to resonate with CZ's statements on Monday about Binance's interest in smaller, locally relevant stablecoins. And I would like to mention that in my Ethereum by 2026 book, you can get my book and you can read about this, but in that book, just to let you know, I predicted in the coming years that Ethereum will become the de facto network for a strange new way that people will be exchanging national currencies via crypto wallets, basically via arbitrage. You have to read the book. And I see that this is going to be related to stablecoins, in the sense that there will be a new type of model where there are a new generation of stablecoins that are not really pegged to fiat currencies, but people will be able to interface with them with knowledge of their relative value to their own respective national fiat currencies, and to use them in order to arbitrage between national fiat currencies also. So that's what I see for the future of stablecoins, that something very different is slowly manifesting, and over the coming few years, relatively soon actually, you will see what I mean. Or we will see what I mean, because as an astrologer, I see these things coming into play, but when they become reality, we'll see the technical, the technical nature of them. So, because I make all my predictions as an astrologer, as a Vedic astrologer, and I'm not an engineer, but it's interesting how using astrology, I even predicted way back, like several months ago. You can find a video called about how Mars is shaping the industry. It's like in the title is something like that, how Mars is shaping the crypto industry. And near the end of the video, I predicted something exactly like WorldCoin, but I'm not an engineer and I knew nothing, or I'm not a VC or anything like that. I didn't know anything about that project. Actually, none of my contacts knew about that project. I didn't know about it, but it literally came into being in the shape of WorldCoin. So that's what I do here, and so just keep an eye out and take into consideration what I said as an astrologer, and I hope it is useful information to you, and I will see you next week.